maybe the best place to start then is to tell me a little bit more about your like entrepreneurial journey, where that started, and what really inspired you to, be an entrepreneur.
I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was just an Asian math kid who was good at math. And I found that the prices of things were different. Why is it that a postman made less than an airline pilot? And why is it that Godiva chocolate costs more than Hershey chocolate? And so I studied economics at the London School of Economics. I learned about Wall Street. My mom's side came from Wall Street. And I found a natural, weird love for data. And so I was working on the world's largest data system outside the United States government called Sabre, and it governed American Airlines. And I had the CEO of American Airlines as my mentor. So I built the website A.com back in the mid 90s, which led me to Yahoo, because at American, I learned about all these different programming languages and software I was buying on behalf of American Airlines. So I was in Silicon Valley all the time. So I happened to be at Yahoo very early. And I discovered, for example, I would say, okay, we're going to use Kana as our call center software, or we're going to buy Oracle for our database software, or we're going to order some Sun E10000s for our servers. And these companies, their stock prices would sometimes go up 20 points when they announced that American Airlines was a client. And I thought, I need to be on the other side of this. I need to own one of these .coms. I need to get involved in the Silicon Valley gold rush. And so I did. And I was very lucky to be early at Yahoo. And since then, I built a really good network just accidentally by being in the right place at the right time.
That's amazing. It's amazing. And then it's back to what you said about data. When it comes to data, like where do you see most people go wrong when it comes to like data, whether it's, in their business or in their sales process?
Lewis, they don't use data. They think they know better. There's a principle called Dunning-Kruger. Have you heard of it?
I have. Yeah, yeah.
It will change people's lives once they realize that they can be confident about something and have absolutely zero idea. So data is how you turn the light on in a dark room when people like the hippo, the highest paid person's opinion, like the big boss, thinks that we should do this versus that. And data will tell you. The whole strategy behind dollar a day, which is let's test lots of things, not randomly, but around a theme that already works and different variations on that theme. Let's see if we can do better. And in hindsight, we could say, well, of course, this ad that had the blue shirt was going to do better, but we didn't know that. And dollar a day is how we combat Dunning-Kruger, to be able to figure out what truly is the winner and then be able to put more money against the winner. So we preach dollar a day because the winners, you might put $10 a day, like you said, and then $100 a day. In some campaigns, we've spent $1 million a day using this technique. Not many people are spending $1 million a day, right?
Not many. No. I know 10,000, 20,000, but there's definitely levels to it for sure.
Yeah, we did it for Rosetta Stone, which is a language learning software. We've done not quite that amount for the Golden State Warriors, which is a basketball team. We've done it for Jack Daniels. We've done it for a bunch of big companies and a lot of small companies. Works really well for service companies, but in any competition, whether it's a local competition or a national competition, because entrepreneurship is about competition, you have to find that winning creative, or you have to find that winning salesperson, or you have to find that winning whatever person, executive assistant. I just hired an executive assistant 2 weeks ago. But in any group of people, in any group of ads, in any group of stores that you have, let's say, for example, there's always going to be a winner, and you want to be able to reward the winner and kill the losers.
Definitely. And I can attest to that, like testing out the different ads that Alex kind of recommended. One of them just outperformed others by a crazy amount. It was like 13 cents a follow versus like $1.15 a follow. So that's where we definitely ramped up the budget. So yeah, I can definitely agree with that there. And then it's like, data aside, like what's one thing that's made the biggest, difference for you in terms of like, your success in both your personal and say professional life?
Lewis, it's this. Every success I've ever had that's been worthwhile has come from a mentor. It's not come from me working hard or being smart or getting lucky. It's always been a mentor that has opened the door. And when I was a young adult in high school, I was one of those Asians that worked super hard. I got really good grades because I thought I could do it. I thought I was invincible. And then I realized, these other kids that are kind of dumb, they're getting great jobs. They're starting businesses. They're making money. And I'm not successful. What is it? Is it because their daddy has a lot of money? I remember Ben Walton, who was the grandson of Sam Walton, one of the Walmart kids. worth $2 billion, would come in on a helicopter every morning at school. And he would have ripped jeans and try to act normal, but everybody knew that he was the grandson of Sam Walton. And I went to school with a lot of these kids that were super wealthy. And I thought, they're spoiled, a lot of them. They're maybe smart, but what advantage do they have? It's not their money, it's their network. And the networking is what I learned the hard way. That's how my whole career turned around when I had the CEO of American Airlines as a mentor. And I got to meet the CEO of Goldman Sachs. I got to hang out with the chairman of Allstate Insurance. I got to have dinner with a living president of the United States, Margaret Thatcher. I'm not trying to name drop. I'm saying these are things I didn't deserve. I never earned, but it's because when you meet people like this, think about the people they know. Think about, like, you might think you're a big deal because you made $1 million last year. And then you meet someone who makes $1 million a day, and that changes your perspective.
Yeah, it definitely does. And like with that said, like who outside of the American Airlines CEO, like who are your mentors now, and maybe who's been like the biggest inspiration, leading up to that for you?
Daryl Isaacs is known as the Kentucky Hammer. He's probably the best known person in the state of Kentucky. If you're anywhere in Kentucky, his billboards, his TV ads, they're everywhere, inescapable. The guy's done $2 billion. He has made it in all aspects, however you want to define it, he's made it. Yet, this is the most humble man I have ever met. He will give out his cell phone number to someone who comes off the street asking for it. I was with him one time, and some mom messaged him at 2 a.m. in the morning. We were just hanging out at his house because he doesn't sleep, sleeps 4 hours per day. And this woman, her daughter was killed earlier that day, was run over by a truck.
Oh my God.
And she just imagined how she must feel. But she'd heard about Daryl. She feels like she knows Daryl because she's seen Daryl on TV, Daryl started his company 30 years ago with his father, Sheldon. And he really is who he says he is. He really is that way. I never thought anyone was really like that. I thought it was a show. And then you find out he's really like that. And he calls up this woman and has a great conversation with her, consoles her. And instead of saying, hey, can we get your information so we can start to file a case and collect some money, which is what a personal injury attorney would do, instead he says, is there anything I can do? Can I send you some food? Is there something that we can do for you now? We can take care of the whole insurance thing and, fighting the insurance companies and going to court and all that stuff. We can do that later. But right now, I want to take care of you. Is there something I can get you? Can I drive over and, or do you need help with the funeral arrangements? What can I do to help you right now? At 2 a.m. in the morning. And when I see someone like that, who's an amazing leader, who cares for his people like that, for the whole community, I wonder, what is it about him and how do I be more like that?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like, not an outlier, but a unicorn in the sense of wildly successful and at the same time has so much time for, his community and people that need it.
He got in a car accident in 2015. He nearly died. Doctor said he wouldn't walk. He's had 14 surgeries. And a few days after, once they realized that he wasn't going to die, they put a wheelchair in front of him. And he said, get that wheelchair away from me. And he made a promise to God that if he was able to walk again, he would devote his life to helping as many people as he could. Doesn't matter whether they could pay him back. Doesn't matter what their lot in life was. And that is what he's done. And now his business has become even more successful because of the reputation of who he is, how he donates, how he treats other people. And he told me this one thing when I was at his house last week. He said, if you're willing to do this one thing, you will be successful beyond your wildest dreams. But most people, they won't do it. They can't do it. You know what he said?
Give more than you take.
That's true. But it's this one thing: forgive everyone. Don't hold a single grudge, even if they're bad, even if they deserve it, even if the way your mom was treating you or whatever. If you completely forgive and let go of that, which is really hard to do, this will unlock goodness in your life. Because the longer you hold resentment, the more that's poison that you're drinking. Being angry at somebody else is drinking poison and thinking they're going to die.
No, definitely. Sounds like, an incredible person. You're lucky to have someone like that in your corner, that's for sure. Well, not lucky, but
being around. I mean, it is lucky. But it's amazing how lucky you get when you work really hard and when you put good vibes into the universe, when you do good things, when you signal, like we talked about on Twitter, what your values are, you start attracting the right people.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good segue there. So like on the topic of hard work and the universe, like what's your kind of like beliefs on, there's obviously a lot of people that talk about like manifesting and, bringing things to fruition. Where do you kind of sit on that spectrum of like, you can manifest anything you want versus like you have to work really hard for it?
I think they're both true. Lewis, I believe in the secret and manifesting and karma and the universe and the golden rule, all those things, but I don't believe we need the woo-woo part attached to it necessarily. I think it's just a simple law of the universe that if you give to other people, there's actually math behind it, right? The average person has 400 people that they're friends with. And if you do something nice for that one person, at some point, one of the 400 people that they know is going to be able to help you because that person remembers who you are. It can be a referral for a new client. It can be someone you didn't even know. You see, the thing is, you don't even know what you don't know. So if you need something, you need money for your business, you need a person that you need to hire, you're trying to seek some kind of tax specialist because you don't want to pay too much in tax, whatever it is, like you have some issue, when you've done good things, it's not just the people that know you, it's the network of those people times 400. And other people out of the woodwork will emerge. And some people will say it's manifesting or woo-woo. No, it's simply that there are people that you know, but the people they know, you don't know. And those people are now advocating on your behalf. That's how the math works.
Yeah, it's crazy. I like how you think through the data part of that as well, right? It's not
Can you see
just,
the trees? You can see kind of the expanding trees and all these different nodes. And there's so many people that are just two connections away from you that you would not believe. You've heard about John Guare's 6 degrees of separation.
I have. Yeah. It's crazy how connected you can be to people that you never thought you were.
In our world, Lewis, it's 3, maybe 4. 6 is for the whole world. That's like, I don't want to be racist, but just take some poor person in Africa living in a hut somewhere. That person is 6 degrees away from Richard Branson or whoever it might be. So if that person is 6 degrees away, Lewis, you and I, how many degrees away are we? Did you know Mark Zuckerberg, I think 5-6 years ago, released a tool that actually showed your average degree of connectedness on Facebook? So it's 6 degrees of separation, but your personal number. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
I
Now,
didn't know
my
that.
number, well, Mark released his, and I think his was 4.3, and my number came in at 4.17. And I took a
Wow.
screenshot that I said, I'm more connected on Facebook than the founder of Facebook.
There you go.
But then they killed the tool, and I tried to go there, and it's like, oh, URL not found. Like, well, thank goodness I took a screenshot to prove that it actually was true.
I love that. I love that. Um, and then it's like I can always remember my most satisfying time in business was the first time I ever signed a client. But like, what would you say has been your, most satisfying moment that you've had in your business career, if you could, nail it down to one?
No question. It's about creating jobs. I was with John Jonas, who founded onlinejobs.ph just a couple months ago at his
Wow.
house in Utah. And onlinejobs.ph is the world's largest virtual assistant freelancing community. He has 2 million virtual assistants on that site. And we were making videos for virtual assistants saying, if you want a job working for an American agency or an American business, here's things that you need to be able to do. Here's what it's like working with Americans. Here's the kinds of things that they're willing to pay for. Here's their top pet peeves. And we were making these videos to be able to help these 2 million people be able to provide an income for their family. And my job, my mission in life, I retired 20 years ago. I was lucky at Yahoo, I was there early, is to create 1 million jobs. And through people like John in the Philippines, he's not in the Philippines, but his thing's the Philippines. Rihan Alawala in Pakistan, he has 14 million followers. He's probably the second most famous person in that country. And other people in other countries that are the equivalent of these folks, we've created 250,000 jobs. And that makes me feel really good. And I was with the president in Kosovo. Kosovo is still a country. I had to look it up. I think they were created, 15 years ago with the help of the United States. But he said, well, why don't you raise that to 5 million jobs? Because you're going to hit that 1 million jobs soon enough. But I said, well, at that point, a few years ago, I thought 1 million jobs was this lofty thing. And now it actually looks like it's possible. So why not raise it to 5 million?
It's amazing. I love that mission. Like it's, I really respect that. And like my kind of vision for the future as well is to, build something, then be in a position to like, give my time, energy, resources back to create all that. I think that's, yeah, it's very aspirational. I respect that a lot, man.
Well, think about this idea of giving back. So most people, once they've made a certain amount of money, they feel guilty. So they donate a few percent, they contribute to their favorite charity, they do some nice things in their neighborhood. Maybe they have enough money, they can donate something to the university and have a building named after them, right? And they live a nice life, and they realize that when they give back, that they can save on taxes too. And there's a lot of good things like that. But what if what you did as part of giving back wasn't some afterthought to your business, but was actually core to your business? And this is something Naveen Jain challenged me to do. He said, nonprofits are the most horrible, wasteful organizations because they're not accountable like businesses are. They're just loaded with people who used to be important, like previous university presidents or people who were famous before, but you don't want them involved in a real business. These guys, they're not really relevant anymore. So why not have your business somehow tied to the thing that actually matters to you, not just you make some profit and you donate 5 cents of every dollar. And when Naveen told me this, I thought, well, what am I good at? I'm really good at this data, math, analytics thing. What if we put that into a course? And instead of selling it like we've been doing, why don't we just give it away to anyone who's in one of these developing countries and let them have jobs? And why don't we say, hey, this course, if you're an American, you can buy a digital plumbing course for $189. But Lewis, what happens when the average small business owner looks at our courses and they see how you have to implement step by step by step? And it's true, if you actually follow all the things in here, you will get the result. But how many of them, when they buy that course, are actually going to do it?
I'd say less than 25%.
Less than 10%.
Less than 10.
But then we say, so you bought the course for $189. How would you like to get it implemented by someone who's certified for $500 and create a job overseas? By someone who's very willing, and this is what they do. They implement digital plumbing, or they tune your ads over and over and over and over again. That's what they do. You can create a job and get stuff done that you don't want to do, because in Australia, UK, Canada, US, we don't want to do stuff like that. Our time is worth more than $3 an hour. But $3 an hour over there is a lot of money. It's a good middle-class income. It's life-changing money. When I was in Pakistan a few months ago, I met this guy who was a gardener. I met another person who was a doctor, been practicing for 15 years, and other people, like people who were servants or they made food, and they're making $100 a month. Can you imagine, like an electrician, someone who actually, like, they went to school and this is what they do. They're not just some unemployed homeless person, but a skilled tradesperson who, fixes light bulbs or whatever the electricians do. And they're making $100 a month. And then they learn how to do digital marketing with Jake Paul and me and other folks. And now they can make $500 a month, and they were making $100 a month. How would that make you feel?
It would change my life.
And it changes their life.
Yeah. That's kind of the context that I meant. If it was me in that situation, like going from 100 to 500, yeah. But on the other side too, yeah, that would be incredible. Who is the person that kind of challenged you to incorporate that model? Naveen
Jain. I think he started 9 companies that each went to over $1 billion in different industries. Right now, he's got the only license to mine the moon, believe it or not. And he's the founder of Viome, which is sequencing your microbiome, your gut, to figure out what's going on and be able to have personalized recommendations on what you should eat or not do, or what you're susceptible to, because of what your genetic composition is, your RNA. Incredible stuff that's coming out with science. Unbelievable. It's like science fiction, but it's real.
That is incredible. Technology is changing very fast. And like with that said, maybe one thing to kind of wrap this up, where do you see like the future of like, AI in business, and how do you think that's going to impact, not only the jobs that you're creating, but maybe like the world as a whole?
People are freaking out over ChatGPT, and there's AI incorporated in most of the tools that we see. But my view over the last 30 years is that these are just tools. The tools are getting smarter, but using a tool is still a tool. And if you are not smart enough to be able to give ChatGPT or Jasper or whatever Descript the correct prompt, which is the right instructions, which is to be able to think, then it's not going to help you. So you could take a fool and give them a calculator, and they're not a genius mathematician. You can give someone who wants to be a surgeon the best kinds of tools, and they're not going to be able to do heart surgery. So you still have to be able to think. Somebody said yesterday that the reason why it's hard to find great writers and why these AI writing tools are okay, but the great writers all say they're not afraid. They don't think these AI tools are going to replace them. In fact, they're going to multiply the productivity of the people who know how to already do it. And the reason why is because these tools don't replace thinking. So the reason why you can't find great writers or copywriters or whatever the area is because they have to be great thinkers to begin with, great managers, great leaders. And so the robots are serving us. I don't believe in Minority Report and Skynet where the robots in the movie are going to kill everybody. That's a Hollywood thing. The robots are here as tools to serve us. And if we learn how to, what's called living above the API line, where we're directing the robots, then we are going to win. If we live below the API line, then we're driving for Uber or the robot is telling us what to do. I don't want to ever live below. But the API line is increasing. It is eliminating a lot of the jobs that shouldn't have been jobs in the first place, like supermarket checkers or toll booth takers. But
Yeah.
I'm very, very optimistic about AI.
Okay. And so where do you see, like, do you think it's in our control whether we're above or below the API line, or do you think it gets to a point where it's just like AI is too smart and like, you know, it does kind of push everyone below that?
There's something you've heard of, probably universal basic income.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. I don't like the idea of how a lot of people won't be able to work because I believe that you should earn it. I don't believe in entitlements. That's a whole philosophical thing. But economically, it is inevitable that we will have UBI. And UBI leads to the next thing, which is called FALC, fully automated luxury communism. So then people can do whatever they want. They can engage in painting and helping other people. Cory Doctorow has a book he wrote 20 some years ago, but it's still prescient today. It's called Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom. And what does society look like when there's no need for money? But Naveen Jain said the same thing. He said, when desalination is free, when energy is free, because we're able to harness it from the sun, for example, and we can store it in batteries. Therefore, transportation becomes free. And therefore, production of vegetables and whatnot becomes free because energy is free, production's free. Therefore, raw materials and produced materials are nearly free. Then what are people going to do? The government is going to have to do something about this. Now, you know, OpenAI and all the tools that have come from OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
Who's the guy who runs OpenAI?
Couldn't tell you.
Sam Altman. Sam Altman founded Y Combinator, and now he's in charge of OpenAI, which has got Elon Musk and Microsoft and all these other big players, right? Because it's not some startup. It's a nonprofit founded by all the big players in tech, including the Google founders. And Sam Altman wrote an article last year called The UBI of Everything. And he said that now remember, this is the guy who's arguably the most powerful guy in AI because he's the one who runs OpenAI. So who's more powerful than him? Not Zuckerberg or Donald Trump or whoever. And he said that UBI is inevitable. And so what has to happen is that there needs to be a tax on asset producing things like technology. And he believes that all billion-dollar tech companies should pay a 10% tax every year on their value. Because if tech companies are growing at 20%, then what's a 10% tax? And then that tax will start to descend all the way down until at what point it stops. People who make $100 million or people who make $10 million a year. And that's how the ecosystem, you do the math on this. I'm a math guy. This is inevitable.
Wow. That's an interesting thought. I've obviously heard of universal basic income, but I never considered it to be something that was inevitable. So that's, yeah, hopefully not in my lifetime, but I don't know.
In the next 20 years.
Wow. We're going to see a lot of change then.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Dennis, thank you so much, man. That was, it's great to chat. Great to meet you.
Pleasure, Lewis. Thanks for reaching out.